Hi guys, so if you've stuck with me through the last few tutorials, you would have gotten to a stage where we have a nice menu. At the moment you can't see it because we have an iPad simulator, but let's look at the iPhone simulator quickly. So here you go. So here we've created a nice navigation menu that looks very much like a native iPhone app. If we look back at the iPad, in the last tutorial we've actually removed the menu from the portrait mode of the iPad, but however, if you rotate the iPad into landscape mode, the menu will automatically appear. If you move it back to portrait, it will disappear. So that's not very good design. We still want the menu to be optional in the portrait mode. So what we're going to do in this video is actually create a button here in the header bar, and when the user clicks on this button, the menu will appear. So let's just go open our index.html file, and under the header one, which is the tag for this menu up here, let's add a button. So I'm just going to copy and paste. I've created the button basically with an ID of toggle menu. Okay, so let's go to our CSS file. I'm just going to move this up here a bit, and we want to add the styles for the toggle menu button. So we want to add it when the iPad is in portrait mode, so we need to add it in this section and not in this section. So let's just go back up here. Right, now's the time for you to pause the screen. Briefly, we're first ensuring that the button is positioned properly, it's got nice font, and then we give it a nice background gradient color. Notice the WebKit gradient keyword is quite useful to learn, and also a nice rounded border. So if I just refresh this now, there you go, you can see a nice menu button here. The reason why it says menu up here is because in index.html we've given it that name here, so you can actually give it any name you want. However, if you try to click on this, nothing happens. Okay, so we need to code or tell it to show the menu when the user clicks on the button. Although we've added the menu button, we've still got a slight problem. If you look at the CSS, true, we've added this style sheet for the button in this section, in the media section, as in the style sheet will only show on iPad devices. However, the button is actually, well, there are no restrictions on the actual button here, so this will show on all devices. So if you open the iPhone simulator, for example, there you can see the menu button that we've added here. So what we're going to do is only have this displayed on the iPad. So what you can do is go back here, and just before the media query, anywhere, you could just add this. So this will tell the web page to set the display for that button to none, i.e. it will not be displayed. Otherwise, if it's an iPad's device and in portrait orientation, then display the button. So let's just refresh this now. There you go. Button has disappeared. Let's go back to iPad, and the button is still here for the iPad. If you go to landscape, there you go, the button disappears. So the next step is to actually add some code to have the button do something when the user clicks on it. So let's just change this back to portrait and go to index.html file, and in the following section, in the span tag, add an on-click event. And we're gonna call it flip menu. So just under the meta viewport tags that we added earlier, or just above the closing tag for the head section, add the following JavaScript code. Now if we test our button now, great. When the user clicks on it, the menu is displayed. When he unclicks or clicks again, the menu disappears. This is done a lot in HTML5 CSS. Basically, using JavaScript, we can change the style sheet of various elements. So here we're saying, if the menu is actually displayed at the moment, set the display to none, i.e. hide it. Otherwise, display it. Notice nav menu is this ID here. However, now we have a slight problem that when the user switches to landscape orientation, there, the menu doesn't show up anymore. So we need to deal with that instance. So what you need to do is to make sure that this code is actually in the body tag. So on orientation change, update orientation, i.e. when the orientation is changed, call this following JavaScript method. So we're going to add this method now. And what this does is display the menu regardless of this code here, when the orientation is landscape. There you go. So that's the end of this tutorial. We have a nice button now in portrait mode, and if you go to landscape, we don't have any issues. The button or the menu is still there, it still appears. And what we're going to do in our next video is actually code the individual web pages for this menu here. At the moment, if you click on it, because we haven't coded the following page, video.1.html, obviously you will get this message.